in place of sadness, and he who was incarnate of thee, both God and man, hath restored to life those who had fallen therefrom. Alleluia, 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 glory to thee, O God. Alleluia, 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 glory to thee, O God. Alleluia, 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 glory to thee, O God, O our God and our hope, glory to thee.
Hello, welcome to our Tone 5 class that we have tonight. This is going to be an hour of beginning chant class, which is going to be around Tone 5 Irmologic or fast version, and then an hour of Tone 5 Sticharic or slow version. I'm Charlie Marge. I am the sacred music coordinator for the Diocese of Worcester and New England. I'm also the head chanter at my church of St. Mary's Orthodox Church in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and I'm the director of the Boston Byzantine Choir. Looks like we have a few wise people here who chose to be with us tonight instead of following election returns, so I think it's a good choice. Because they're still voting where Marina is. So
right.
Yeah, right.
I'm getting phone calls about every 3 minutes. Did you vote?
Oh.
Did you vote? It's like I stopped answering my phones. Like,
oh my goodness. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to first of all I need to ask, did Chris happen to send out to you guys the presentation materials at all? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to put the link into the chat. By the way, do you know, Marina, when Chris is going to join us?
Not until the very end. But if I need to get to him, he's got his computer under his seat and can help us. So
okay, if you could reach out to him. The second half of the class, I sent him a new presentation, but I don't have a link to it, so I can only post to everybody right now the link to this handout.
okay, let me see what I can do. If you sent it to him, can you just send it to me? And
do you have a place where you can post it?
No, I guess actually I can't. Okay, never mind.
Right, because it's under his MC user content thing. But anyway, right now I'm going to go find the chat. And whoops, nope, did that work? Let's see. Okay, let me just edit that a little bit, and then I think it's a really ugly link, but I think that is where you can find the class materials here. Let's see if that works.
Whoa, that's long.
Yeah, that's what he gave me. So.
Okay, so if you guys click on that link, you should be able to get to Charlie's materials.
And I'm going to pull them up right now on the screen anyway. So, and then I'm going to share my screen. All right, so
very pretty.
Yeah, nice string. Hey, I'm in the middle of teaching a class. I'll be free in about 2 hours. Awesome. No, that's fine. That's fine. I'm just in the middle of the class right now, so I will do that. Okay, bye. All right. Okay, so the outline of this class basically what we're going to do is we're going to cover the diatonic scale, which tone 5 is based on, both versions of tone 5. We're going to go over some familiar tone 5 earmologic hymns. We'll actually do a little bit of analysis of some of the patterns you see in tone 5 earmologic hymns. We'll cover one special melody that I think everyone should be familiar with in tone 5, and we'll talk a little bit about the Isan. And that's what we'll do for this first hour. And then we get halfway through the class, and I'll tell you what we're going to cover in the second hour, which is the more intermediate level material on the tone 5 sticker arc. Just up front, some of the terminology here. We need to put together a class that just covers some chant basics and chant terminology. So earmologic is the form of the hymn that more or less follows the rules of one note per syllable, okay? There can be two notes for a syllable here and there for emphasis, but by and large, it's generally one note per syllable. Earmologic, also known as the fast versions. The word earmologic is used because it comes from the earmos of the canon. So when you chant canons, they typically are one note per syllable in that style. And the first hymn of an ode of a canon is called the earmos. So that's what it's called, the earmologic style or fast style. You can think of it that way, or syllabic is another word you can use. Sticker arc, which we're going to cover in the second half of the class, that's you have more than one note per syllable. Okay, it's more melismatic. And then there's a third type of chant called papadic, which is very melismatic, where you have many notes per syllable. Typically, where you might encounter that in the Divine Liturgy might be, say, for a cherubic hymn, something that needs to take a lot of time, is long and drawn out. And if you're like my priest who likes to take his time, do a beautiful job, preparing for the great entrance, you could have 4 or 5 minutes to work with, So, so that's what those terms mean. And so what I'd like to do as we start out this class is I just want to do a little remembrance of my partner in crime who passed away this year, Father Michael Vanderhoff. And I'm going to flip to a video that we have from when I offered this class before, where I talked a little bit about Father Michael. So instead of repeating myself, we'll just play it from here. Any of you who were around at the SMI starting 10 years ago and were interested in Byzantine chant would have come across Father Michael Vanderhoff. And I just want to spend just a few seconds just talking about him. I first started teaching at the SMIs, teaching chant 10 years ago, and I co-taught all my chant classes with Father Michael. We really enjoyed doing that together. We were a real tag team, and he was pretty funny. And the goal of those early classes is just to make people feel more comfortable with chanting and getting some information out there in a way that was easy to understand. And he unexpectedly passed away in January this year. In addition to teaching the chant classes, he had a lot of enthusiasm about making this fun, and so he created this SMI game show that we had usually on Friday or Saturday night at the SMI called Name That Tone, where the audience would submit to me non-liturgical texts, and between himself and myself, we would try to sing those in a particular tone, and then the contestants had to identify what tone it was. So as you can see, here from down here, he had a lot of fun, in getting people to laugh and things like that. So I just want to remember Father Michael as I start my second decade of teaching here at the SMIs. May his memory be eternal.
Memory eternal. Hey, Charlie, we did have a request. People are having a little bit of difficulty hearing your sound. So,
okay, that's not true anymore. So we can skip ahead and to where people were able to hear my sound, which was right. Okay, and before we do that, actually, we're going to let me just get out of this.
Is it?
And
Yeah, so I mean, we can hear you.
and go back to the materials. Hold on. That's right. This is the one that I want.
Charlie, was that Chris talking on the recording?
Yes, that was Chris talking on the recording. Yeah.
I was so confused. I'm like, where is he?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, he's not here. So what I'd like to do now is define some basics about tone 5 and the scale here, because I'm not sure. Maybe I did this also on the other recording. I'll just go back. I'll skip ahead to the part where I know we fixed my sound, and then see what should be right around here. Okay, so let's see if that works. Okay.
Very good.
Good. Okay. I'm not going to repeat anything I said before. Hopefully, you guys were able to hear that. Okay. All right. Before we start talking about scales and theory, let's go to this is page 6 of your handouts. Something you guys should all know, and I'd ask that everyone put themselves on mute, and we're going to just sing this together, just so we can get tone 5 etymologic in our ear. So that would be the what's written as an A. Let us believers praise and worship the Word co-eternal with the Father and the Spirit, born of the Virgin for our salvation. For he took pleasure in ascending the cross in the flesh, to suffer death and to raise the dead by his glorious resurrection. So that should be something that's familiar to everybody, at least the Antioch Archdiocese. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on with the scale there. And before we do that, I would like to, just because this is a beginning level class, before I start talking about Nipa Vuga and all that, I just want to make sure people know what that is. So everyone's familiar, at least in concept, of what solfege is because of the sound of music and the song, Do, a deer, a female deer, Re, a drop of golden sun, right? So if we were to sing, say, a C major scale on Do, Re, Mi, and you can do this since you're muted, you'd sing along with me. Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, Ti, Do. Well, it just turns out that there's also a Greek Byzantine equivalent of syllables. They just use different syllables when we do solfege in Byzantine chant, and it's called paralagi. And instead of singing do, re, mi, fa, we're going to sing ni, pa, vu, ra, vi, ke, zo, ni. So let's sing the same scale, but let's do it this time on the Byzantine solfege symbols. Ni pa vu ra vi ke zo ni. Okay, so you know at least what that is. So now that I've shown you what sort of the do, re, mi, ni, pa, vu look like here, when we talk about tone 5 and what scale that it's using, notice it's starting on what we're writing here, as a D. I'll try to make this even a little bit bigger. How's that? What's looking, what's written here as a D, the pa is basically the second step, in the Byzantine scale. And as you would you know, with this scale, if you start singing it from D going on up, you're going to get a different sound. You know, instead of starting on C, and you're going to get something that sounds like this. You start on the D, you get, okay, which sounds completely different. It's all about where you start, right? So let's sing these four notes together, just to get familiar with this scale. For pa, so pa vu ga di, and then the last four would be ke zo ni pa. So to our Western ears, this is what you would call like a D Dorian type scale, at least, you know, on the way up here. You also notice I've identified these as tetrachords, meaning chords of four notes. So you can think of this scale, and just like you would in a Western scale, you know, we have tetrachords there as well. The two tetrachords here, you've got pa vu ga di ga vu pa, and then you've got this upper one, okay, ke zo ni pa, and the two tetrachords together is what makes your octave and what makes your scale. On the way down, what's interesting in this scale, which is called the diatonic scale in Byzantine terms, when you come down through the B or the zo, it'll be flat. Okay, so on the way down, it's more like a D natural minor scale. So we'll go pa vu ga di ke zo ni pa, and then we'll go pa ni zo ke di ga vu pa. So that's just to give you some basic, you know, background in terms of, you know, the whole scale that ends up that tone 5 is based on both versions of tone 5 that we're going to be talking about today in this class and the second class. And then if you go below pa, it usually ends up looking like this, where you go with the B being natural, the zo being natural. Pa ni zo ni pa. So that's your basic scale, okay, for tone 5. But then when we talk about tone 5 etymologic, what basically happens on this scale is you basically take this part of the scale, and it's just, and this part of the scale, it's like you just shift it up 5 notes. And if anyone was brave enough to attempt the advanced chant class, yesterday, Deacon John actually talked about that from a theoretical perspective about what that is. We're not going to cover that in this class. Let's talk a little bit about it in the next class, in the intermediate class. But basically what you end up with is, instead of pa vu ga di ga vu pa, up here it ends up looking like this. Ke zo ni zo ke di ga di ke, and it pretty much stays in a pretty tight band, this tone 5 etymologic. Sometimes it'll go up all the way, you know, to the D, you know, which is the pa. Sometimes it'll even go a little bit past that, but mostly it's staying in a pretty tight band here. And you'll notice that when we go back to that hymn that we just chanted, yeah, you'll see it. Yeah, it goes up to the D, but it really doesn't go past it, and then it drops down. This should probably be sung as an F sharp because Anne wrote it as an F, but most people sing that as an F sharp. And one of the things about this version of tone 5, the etymologic version, is every tone has an introduction. It's like an introductory, intonation called an epihema. And the official one, like if you're listening to a chant recording from Greece, who people do for this one, is they'll go ane, ane, to basically get that kezon is okay at the top of the scale, or the A B C B A. Now, one of our instructors here at the SMI, Jessica, wrote for the SMI a number of years ago now, these little made-up tunes that tell you a little bit about how this tone 5 ear melodic works. And by the way, tone 5 has another name. You know, in the Antiochian Archdiocese, we talk about tones because we have different tonal systems that our churches use. We've got Byzantine tones, we've got Znameni chant tones, we've got Kievan chant tones, we've got Obi-Hood chant tones, right? So we tend to use the word tone just so that we can all speak the same language. But from a theoretical perspective, you'll also, you know, the official name when we talk about the mode is that this is mode plagal of the first. So it's related to the first mode or first tone because it shares this diatonic scale in different parts, but it's called the plagal being a fourth, you know, or 4 steps, you know, that it's shifted.
Hey, Charlie, before
yeah.
you go on with that, we did have a couple questions. Can you just explain etymologic, stichoraric versus syncopodic?
Okay. Which we don't need to do that because we already did that. So I will skip ahead to here. 20. Okay. Divine Liturgy is concerned, you know, yeah, for the Cherubic hymn. Okay, so what we're going to do now, I'll sing it once and then you'll sing it with me, is this little tune that Jessica wrote to describe tone 5. Tone 5 can rest internally on me, and the final note is Ke. So let's just look at what it's saying, then we'll sing it together. It's saying it can rest internally on ni. So what is ni here, okay? Ni is the C. Okay, we're writing ni as a C here. So it's saying tone 5 can rest on the C, but the final note is always K. So let's sing that together. This isn't everything you need to know about that mode, but this is really helpful. If you can get this down, that's my objective in this class. If you can understand this and know that you're resting on the 3rd and not on the 4th, then I've been successful here, okay? So let's sing this together with your microphones on mute. Tone 5 can rest internally on ni, and the final note is Ke. Okay, good. And Chris, you'll let me know if there's any questions that come up. Otherwise, I'm just gonna.
That's fine. I'll keep watching.
Yep, excellent. All right. So so now let's observe from. Let me get to the right page here. Let's observe from how what Jessica wrote applies to what we saw here, okay? Let's take this phrase. If we're starting on word co-eternal, it's resting on ni, with the Father and the Spirit, also resting on ni. Born of the Virgin for our salvation, ending on K. We got a period, end of the sentence, okay? For he took pleasure in ascending the cross, in the flesh to suffer death and to raise the dead by his glorious resurrection. So we see examples here of what Jessica is talking about. So before I go on and really take you through the analysis here, and now you know which version of tone 5 I'm talking about, I'd like to just open this up to your chat window, if you would just chat for. Okay, and now we're going to do this. We're going to do this. Let me get my video back here. We're going to do this live. I'd like you guys in the chat window to tell me when you think of tone 5 etymologic. Am I still displaying my screen here, or no? Are you seeing me, or no? Or are you seeing the video?
No, we're seeing you.
Okay. Okay.
Also, if I can interrupt just for a second, I just spoke with Chris, and he just sent out the information, then additional information to everyone's email. So
Yes.
if you want to check your emails, he just sent you the new information that Charlie sent.
Yep. Yep. So yeah. So you'll have the materials for both classes if you haven't pulled it down already. So what I'd like to do is in the chat window, if you would please, now that we've talked about what tone 5 hymnologic sounds like, put in the chat window, when you think of tone 5 hymnologic, what hymn comes to mind? What are some of your favorite hymns that are in this style or this mode of Byzantine chant? Yes, the Evloitaria, absolutely. Evloitaria are some of my favorite. Of course, the Resurrection Troparion that we just sang in tone 5. We're going to talk about the fact that that melody, not the Kazan melody per se, but the one that we're eventually going to get when they update those, is actually one of those special melodies in hymnologic tone 5. Yeah, that's the same as Let Us Worship the Word, the Resurrection Troparion. But yeah, what else? What else in the fast version, in this hymnologic version of tone 5, comes to mind? I am sure if people have other hymns that are favorites of theirs. So now that's Rejoice. We're gonna cover that in the sticker art class because that's based on a Pa or D, even though it's in a syllabic type style. Chris, you can save that one for the second hour. It is the day of resurrection. That's also sticker arc. So save that one for the next class. Anyone else can think of a hymn that they know in this fast version of tone 5 that's meaningful to them? Well, I'll just have to tell you some of mine then. Okay, we have someone said Evloitaria of the Dead. Yeah, I'm going to say something about that. In the video, that's true. The Evloitaria of the Dead sound very much like the Resurrection of Evloitaria in terms of they're in the same style and that's intentional. Let God arise. Good. I was waiting for someone to come up with that. Yeah, the Paschal stichera, are in this fast version. In fact, that's good. That's a version of that is going to be in your packet as well. And then if we're talking about the resurrection, of course, folks, you can't leave out Christ is risen in tone 5. Hymnologic, Christ is risen from the dead. But we'll cover that later in this class as well. Okay, good. Let me go back to the video here. It should be right around here. And let me share my screen again. Get to the Paschal stichera later because I do want to say something about those. But anyway, let's do a little analysis here. So Father Michael and I, when we started teaching chanting classes 10 years ago, came up with this idea of talking about chanting in a tone as like taking an airplane flight. Basically you need to know how to take off and you need to know how to cruise. Okay. Let me get I'm sorry, I'm not sharing my screen. So let me get back to sharing my screen. Okay. And let me get my spotlight back. Okay. Basically that you need to be able to take off and then you need to be able to stay at cruising altitude, and then you need to know how to land. And of course, what we found, and when we started out, we didn't have as much music that people could sing from 10 years ago. So a lot of what people were doing was having to chant, from text. And so, people were figuring out basically, how to take off and more or less how to stay up there. But we had a lot of crash landings, So, so the key here is, and basically if you understand a little bit of how this works, it's going to make a lot of sense to you. So if you go back to what Jessica had written, yeah, your bass note, your starting note here is K, and you're going up, and your starting phrase is going to have you land on ni or on a C, and then you can connect phrases together by landing on another C, and then you have to figure out a way to be able to give it an ending so you can land back again, on the A. So I have some examples here with one of the verses that could be chanted in Vespers if you're chanting it in the tone 5 hiermologic style. A couple examples here. So the phrase here is, I cried unto the Lord with my voice unto the Lord. You guys all know how it ends. Did I make my supplication? Okay, so we got a couple of different ways of starting this, like, I cried unto the Lord with my voice, or I cried unto the Lord with my voice. And then we've got a couple examples of what you could do in the middle here. With my voice unto the Lord, or with my voice unto the Lord, with my voice unto the Lord. And notice those are medial cadences where you're starting on a C or a ni and ending on a ni. And then you need to be able to close out the phrase by landing back down on the K. Did I make my supplication, or did I make my supplication? Or if this happened to be like the last, you'd never sing this verse this way, but if it happened to be kind of the last thing you were singing in a tone 5 hymnologic hymn, more elaborate terminal cadence. Oh yeah, here's another normal one here. Did I make my supplication? But a more elaborate ending would be, did I make my supplication? It was kind of like the end of a longer hymn, okay? So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna ask you guys, and Chris is going to monitor this for me, is I'd like you, and I don't know how you're gonna process this, Chris, but good luck. I'd like you to give Chris combinations of, like a A, B, A, or something like that, of what you want me to use for like the starting phrase, what you want me to use for the medial phrase, and what you want me to use for the for the final cadence here, where we've got 4 choices. So why don't you type some things in the chat, and Chris will give me some, and then I will demonstrate how they come out. And the point of this is to show you that there are different ways, and you're going to hear more about this, especially if you're attending some of the other classes or going to the panel discussion tonight on composition, Byzantine composition. Byzantine music's designed to emphasize syllables in terms of the melodic patterns that you see here. And so all of these are properly written melodic patterns that would go with this text, putting the accent in the right place. And one of the neat things here is if you have each of these, I've split this phrase up into 3 pieces, a starting, a middle, and an ending. You can piece them together and it works, but it's not a unique solution. There's other equally good ways of doing it. So, did you get
Charlie,
anything?
yeah, rather than picking favorites, I'm just going to give you the first one, which was BCB.
BCB, okay. I'm gonna test my scrolling abilities here. Actually, I'll make it just a little bit smaller, I think. I also need to move this thing up out of the way. Hold on, there we go. So I can see, I'm just gonna make the, oh yeah, I'm at 190%. I don't need to be quite that big. So you said BCB? BCB, okay. So this phrase with BCB would sound like this. I cried unto the Lord with my voice unto the Lord. Did I make my supplication? Very nice. Okay, did anyone give you something that was like?
How about an ACB?
BCB, well that's
ACB.
ACB, okay. I cried unto the Lord with my voice unto the Lord. Did I make my supplication? And then I'm just going to throw another one out there just so you can hear something different, and then we'll move on. I'm going to do A, C, and I'll do that terminal that terminal cadence down here. Okay. I cried unto the Lord with my voice unto the Lord. Sorry. Did I make my supplication? Do you get any others, or I can do one more here. I'll do A, and C. I'll do AAC. I cry, how about B? I'll do BAC. I cried unto the Lord with my voice unto the Lord. Did I make my supplication? I guess I did ACC, but anyway, so you get the idea that we have these different ways that you could do these phrases, and because the mode works where we're linking them up at the same places, you can interchange these things, and that at least gives you a little bit of insight into how this mode works, from a theoretical perspective. One thing I'll also say, and this is just kind of, well, actually, I'll say it when I get to the next example. So, yeah, and this page is just some more examples for you. Like, tone 5 often starts like this. It can also start like this, and can also start like this. One of the ways, if you wanted to really practice to see how well you know a tone, is just pick up the phone book or pick up some random text and just see if you can start singing it in tone 5. And it's not that easy, but it will teach you a lot about how it works. So I'm going to, just looking at the time here, I'm going to move on, but just so you know, I've got another page here we can look at some of this. We already sang through that, and then we were playing the Evoluitaria at the beginning here that we all know. One thing I'll say about tone 5 Irmologic, this is kind of a pet peeve of mine, and it doesn't matter to me whether you're a tenor, or whether you're a bass, an alto, contralto, whatever. Wherever is comfortable for you, like if you're singing alone, you're the only chanter, you have to sing the Evoluitaria. I just ask that, because when you look at that scale that we had from the very beginning, okay, that we're basically up here in the upper part of the scale. I just ask that, that you keep in mind that part of what makes tone 5 and where it's used, hopefully you figured out there's a common theme here from the things you identified as far as the Evoluitaria, the Pascal Stickera, and things like that, it's about the resurrection. Okay, tone 5 is the resurrectional tone. There's a version of the Evoluitaria that we do at funerals, but it's supposed to be bright, okay, because it's about the resurrection. It's not supposed to be chanted in the gutter. So if you have my voice, okay, where I'm pretty much, where the scale is written, I'll sing like, blessed art thou, O Lord, teach me thy statutes. But I won't sing, blessed art thou, O Lord, teach me thy statutes. And the reason is that that's way too dark for what tone 5 Irmologic is supposed to sound like, okay? Now, if that's high for you, great, okay? But what I'm saying, in your voice, and especially if you're chanting alone, you want to pitch this in the higher part of your voice, not down in the gutter, okay? Because it's supposed to be bright. It's got that joy of the resurrection. So just keep that in mind. I can't tell you how many times I've gone in and the Evoluitaria is just supposed to sound so joyful, it kind of sounds like a downer. It's just, and because people aren't singing it in the right part of their voice, and it's not because they have low voices. It's just, they haven't thought about that.
So Charlie, basically what you're saying is even at the funeral where you're doing the Evoluitaria for the dead, you're still talking about the resurrection, and so for that reason, it's still bright. Right,
and in fact, I'll even go a step further and to say the reason that we do the Evoluitaria for the dead like that is we're all here at a funeral, and we're all sad and mourning for our loved one who has passed away. And when we hear that tone, what's supposed to happen is supposed to make us think about the resurrection. That yes, this person has departed this life, but our focus is completely on the resurrection. I remember at my own father's funeral, this was very powerful for me 35 years ago, where I was a young man, and we had two priests at our parish at the time, and they went back and forth antiphonally chanting the Evlogiaria. It was so beautiful, and one of my father's Jewish friends called up the house after. He said, that was so beautiful. He said, I've never heard anything like that, So even if you don't know what it's supposed to mean, it's just, it's very, very powerful, and we should be very thankful that we have, a musical tradition like this, and so that's what this is supposed to evoke, for us, is remembering the resurrection. We hear that even at a funeral. Great question, Chris. Thank you for bringing that up. One thing I guess I'll mention here about the Evlogiaria is sometimes, and you don't find this in the Greek versions, but you do find it in the Antiochian versions. We know how to mourn a little bit better, I think. Is what's this about? What's going on here? We're singing, when they beheld thee numbered among the dead. What is that? Well, what's happening here is you're actually, for this little phrase here, and we're talking about the dead, we're kind of turning on that, that Lenten feel that's basically, a modulation, quick shift over to tone 6. A tone 6 that would be based on an E, which is not here in the notes, but numbered among, that would be the pa, the tone 6, numbered among the dead. So that's just some text painting, and Jessica is going to be teaching a class on it's an intermediate advanced level class on modulations, common modulations between tones. But that's a really quick one that we see there in here. And it happens a couple of times in our Kazan version, of the Evlogiaria. Yeah, now, Chris, you mentioned Christ is risen. And I'd like to share a video with you now. So let's see, in order to do. Okay, and I'm going to share the video live because it'll come out better if I do that as opposed to that. I think I'm sharing my whole screen, so this should work. Let's just see about that, because it'll come out better than watching the video of the shared video, which is some of you may have seen this before. This is a lot of fun. Okay, this is back in the days when we had flash mobs. Okay.
هذا هو اليوم الذي صنعه الرب فلنفرح ولنتهلل به المسيح قام من بين الأموات ووطئ الموت بالموت ووهب الحياة للذين في القبور المسيح قام من بين الأموات ووطئ الموت بالموت ووهب الحياة للذين في القبور المسيح قام من بين الأموات ووطئ الموت بالموت ووهب الحياة للذين في القبور Χριστός ανεστιέπνεκρον θανάτων βαπτίσας και της αντιθνήμας η ζωή ευχαρισάμενος Μεσσία قام من بين الأموات ووطئ الموت بالموت ووهب الحياة للذين في القبور المسيح قام من بين الأموات ووطئ الموت بالموت ووهب الحياة للذين في القبور المسيح
Isn't that fun? All right, let's go back to our video here. 41. About right. Okay. Before, at the beginning, one of the things I wanted you to notice at that was what we would call the ISO note. There's that constant, which is your A, and of course we've got. In the more formal Arabic we use, as opposed to what was used on that, we've got Al-Masih qama min bayni al-amwat wa wati al-maut bil-maut wa wahab al-hayat lilladhina fil qubur. So we have that right here on the Archdiocese website, and the main bass note for or ISO note for tone 5 is basically the A or the K. And then with these little cadences at the end, okay. So this is obviously a familiar melody, to a lot of you, and then we've got it in 3 languages here on this this example. Also, continuing with the Paschal theme, I got an example here of the Paschal Stikera by now Father Nick Belcher, who works at the Archdiocese, and we're going to see similar kinds of patterns here. I'm going to sing a little bit lower here. Today a sacred Pascha have been revealed to us, a Pascha new and holy, Pasta mystical, Pascha all audible, Pascha which is Christ the Redeemer. So you get the idea here. Pascha most great, Pascha most pure, Pascha of the faithful. So here you see it going down below the A, below the K. Pascha which opens the gates of heaven for us. Pascha which sanctifies the faithful. There's that ending, okay, that we showed you before, okay? And then I'll show you also, when we get to the third one, we've got a great example here of what we see in the Evloitaria as well. And he cried out, saying unto them, why do you seek the living among the dead? Again, that's that borrowing from tone 6. Why do you mourn the incorruptible amid corruption? And then back into the tone. Go and announce to his disciples. And there's that ending again, okay? So, these are some of the big hymns, that we would recognize in the tone 5 etymologic. Another one, which no one had mentioned, but one of my favorites is those Apolitikia we do in Lent, like for weekday Vespers. A number of churches have like Sunday night Vespers. Rejoice, O Virgin Theotokos, Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. So this is very nice as well. Whoops, sorry. No, I can't see myself. For some reason, Chris, I can see you, but I can't see me. That's odd.
Yeah, I'm the last person who talked, so you see me.
Okay. I just want to make sure I got my music stand back here with my computer. Okay, good. All right. And there's 4 of those, and then so the first one of those, this is basically our Hail Mary prayer, right? Rejoice, O Virgin Theotokos, Mary full of grace, the Lord is with thee, blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, for thou didst give birth to the Savior of our souls, or for thou was born the Savior of our souls, and for John the Baptist and the apostles. And then this one here, we have taken refuge also known as Under Thy Compassion. We have taken refuge under the wing of Thy compassion, O Theotokos. One of my favorite ones, and one of the oldest, one of our oldest hymns, you know, in terms of the words. We have taken refuge under the wing of Thy compassion, O Theotokos. Turn not away from our beseechings in tribulation, but save us from distress, O Thou who alone art pure and blessed. So yeah, that is one of the oldest Orthodox Christian hymns, or one of the oldest Christian hymns. So that's significant too. And now let's talk a little bit about prosomia. There is really one main prosomia that's worth mentioning. Prosomia model hymns, automata, automatic melodies, special melodies. We use that word as well. There are a number of special melodies that exist, but I always like to focus on one of the ones that you're most likely to actually come across and practice. And this one, which is called Let Us Worship the Word, is actually supposed to be the one that we sang at the beginning of the class for the resurrection, though Kazan didn't really do it to exactly that melody. I know coming down the line from the Archdiocese with new translation and stuff like that, we're going to get a new version, and that version will follow this special melody very, very closely. But in the meantime, we can show you an example of a feast that occurred earlier this month, and one of our newer Orthodox saints, St. John Maximovich, or St. John of Shanghai and San Francisco. And if you've ever seen this melody or come across it before, you'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, I recognize this. Like a spiritual day star in heaven's firmament, Thou didst encompass the whole world and didst enlighten men's souls. Hence thy name is glorified throughout the east and west. For thou didst shine forth with the grace of the Son of Righteousness, O John, our beloved shepherd. Wherefore cease not to entreat Christ that he show mercy and redeem our souls. So that's one that you're going to come across, and there's a number of different saints, like Saint Sophia, just the one for Saint Sophia goes to this melody as well. So that's one that it's used typically for apologetikia, but you might find it, in other places as well. And then what I'd like to do, and I'll open it up for some questions here at the end, but show you a couple examples of what would be considered more like slow etymologic. So here's the same text, O Theotokos and Virgin, Mary full of grace, the Lord's with thee. It's a different translation here. This is one that has a few more notes per syllable. It's almost Sychararic, but it's in the tone 5 etymologic based on A, based on the K. And you've probably heard this, if you ever do Vespers for a big feast where you have the 5 loaves, the artoclasia, you'll hear this sung. So we'll do a little of that, and then I'm going to point out something that happens over here just by way of interest. So what I'm going to do at this point, let me stop the screen share. What I'm going to do is, I need to start my video again. Is because of where we are in time and trying to cram both of these classes into the 2 hours, is you have this music. Some of the stuff we're going to cover in the next class will be related to some of the transitions we see in this piece. So rather than sing that now and cover that now, I'd like to open this up for questions. And I already had a question that came in before we even started the class that I would like to answer. And that question was, okay, now that we've covered tone 5 irmologic, and last time, which was 4 weeks ago, we covered tone 1 irmologic. What are the differences? If I could summarize very quickly the difference between tone 5 irmologic and tone 1 irmologic. Notice we're doing the tone 5 class this week because this weekend, the tone of the week is for Sunday, starts with tone 5. I actually have a handout on that I will, I'll bring up on the screen so we can talk through that right now. So let me share my screen again. This is brand new, hot off the press because this question. Oh yeah, let me get my pointer going here so you can see what I'm doing. All right, so at the beginning of the class we talked about the diatonic scale. Pavugadi kezoni pa, right? So that is the basic scale, and starting it on the D or on the pa, that's this scale is used by both the tone 5 irmologic and the tone 1 irmologic. Basically using different parts of the scale, but what I'm going to try to do is try to bring it down onto the same level so it's very easy for you to make the comparison here. So the first thing I want to say about tone 5, remember earlier in this class, we covered the fact that you have the pause on the C in tone 5. I cried unto the Lord with my voice, because we have this pattern where it starts on the A and cadences on the C and comes back down to the A, right? And one way that you can think of this, as I believe I mentioned earlier, is the fact that all these B's are natural, because really what this is it's really this bottom tetrachord of the scale where the E is always natural, transposed up a fifth so that the B is always natural. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you that same pattern, but I'm going to bring it down as if it were written on a D. Okay, so then you can see the emphasis being on the third, which would be written here as an F. So instead of I cried, it'd be like, I cried unto the Lord with my voice unto the Lord did I make my supplication. So you see it paused on the F and came back to the F, and it ended on the D, right? So the difference between that and tone 1 is that in tone 1, it's using that same part of the scale, starting D. The medial cadence is going to be on the 4th, or on G or the, is where it's going to rest. So instead of resting on the 3rd, it's going to rest on the 5th. So the same words would be written in tone 1. I cried unto the Lord with my voice unto the Lord did I make my supplication. So I go up to the 4th and come back to the 4th, and I end on the tonic. Okay, so that's the key difference. So I can't tell you how many people I've heard in my life, when you would tell them go chant something in tone 1, they start chanting something that sounds like this, that's pausing on the 3rd. And so to try to compare it this way, hopefully that makes it really clear that when I'm landing on the 4th and I'm ending on the tonic, that's tone 1. But when I'm landing on the 3rd and I'm ending on the tonic, that would be basically tone 5. And it's just a very characteristic difference that's easy to pick up. And as I said before, tone 5 is sung a fifth higher, but structurally what's going on, you can see it's the same thing. You're landing on the 3rd. So I'm going to go check if I can find it now. I'm going to go check the chat. and see if that, so I think maybe to do that, I have to stop sharing so I can see the chat again. There we go. And see if that, if that answered that question, or if there are any questions about what I just said there. Also, if anyone else has any questions they want to put into the chat right now, I'm happy to answer them before we transition off this basic stuff about tone 5 ear logic and go into the more intermediate topic, which is the tone 5 sticker arc. Good. Question answered. Excellent. All right. Any other questions, or should I just move right along here, because I see we're already a few minutes past 9. So let me share my screen and show you the beginning of the packet for tone 5, which has been emailed to everybody. That signed up. Chris sent that out. So let me just go over what we're going to cover here, as much of it as we can cover here in the remaining part of this class. I could talk about this all day, but we're trying to fit this into 2 hours. Okay, so we already covered the diatonic scale, so we don't have to cover that part. Yay. We'll go straight to the simple analysis of tone 5 sticker arc patterns, and then talk about some tone 5 sticker arc hymns, discuss the ESON for tone 5 sticker arc, and then the all-important topics of talking about the diatonic scale shifts that you see in tone 5 and how that works. So hopefully that'll shed a lot of light in terms of explaining some of the things you see when you look at these tone 5 sticker arc hymns and you're kind of wondering what's going on. Like something changed, I'm not sure what. Because this is an intermediate class, we'll discuss the topic of ornamentation a little bit, and then we'll cover the special melody that is popular, that's more in this sticker arc style, even though it's kind of like a fast sticker arc because it's a prosodian, which is known as Rejoice. So let me go pick this up from the video that I would have for that class. So I know what I have to do. I have to stop that. Okay, and go to this one here. Okay, and we go right to 4 minutes into it. One of the things that you notice is that the zo, or the B, is natural on the way up when you're going through it, and it's flat on the way down. We're going to talk, we're going to spend some time later when we talk about diatonic shifts, about all the different things you might see in tone 5 sticker arc pieces, and you're wondering, well, is it supposed to be this way or is it supposed to be that way? Well, I did a little research on this, and I thank Deacon John for his help in a lot of these explanations, and found out that there's a lot of different situations that can occur. And so because this is an intermediate class, we get to talk about that a little more from the theoretical perspective. In terms of, if you're listening to recordings or you're in a big chant group and you hear someone do an introductory intonation, all the modes have different intonations, and it depends sometimes whether it's earmologic or sticker arc or whatever. We learned one in the last class for the earmologic, but for this one, if that's our pa, okay, which is written as a D here, then this official apikima is sorry, I had something in the back of my throat. So if you hear that, it's like, oh, the whole point of that is to say, that person is going into, tone 5 or plagal 1 sticker arc. Yeah, you know that's what's going on here. So, there are some as I said, most of the tone 5 sticker arc hymns will follow the rule that it's multiple syllables per note, but there are some situations like the verses after "O Lord, I have cried" that you're going to hear tonight at Vespers, and in other places where we follow the tone 5 sticker arc melodic patterns in a more or less, irmologic way. And so what we have here is an example of something that was actually written by our host of this meeting here, Deacon John, to teach students at St. Vlad's in terms of how tone 5 sticker arc works. So I'm going to sing it once, and then on mute, you're going to sing it with me. Then we're going to talk about it. Okay. Tone 5 sticker arc cadences on K, and sometimes on E, but always ends on thee. So it's giving us some information about how this tends to work as far as it cadences on K. So that would be in this scale here. That's the A, right? As written here, cadences on K, and sometimes on Ni, which is written as the C here, right? But always ends in terms of more of a final ending, but always ends on thee, which is the G here. Okay. So let's have you sing that with me now. Okay, on mute. Tone 5 sticker arc cadences on K, and sometimes on E, but always ends on thee. All right. So, okay. So, at this point, I asked people in the class what hymns in tone 5 sticker arc were some of their favorites. Some of you guys already gave me some of those at the last class. So just a reminder of some of the things you guys had said in the last class was "It is the day of resurrection." It is the day of resurrection, right? So that's clearly one. Another one, someone mentioned the common long version of "Christ is risen." Christ is risen from the dead, and hymns like that. So I'm not going to, because we're short on time, I'm not going to go extensive on asking you guys for things like that, since you already mentioned them before. But I'm going to skip ahead to after that section here in the video. Okay, and then let me share my screen again. Okay, and let's we have actually let's talk about it, and then I'll show this to you. So if we're going to take the same verse we used in the last class, but we're going to examine some possible ways you can do this in tone 5 sticker arc. So in terms of our flight plan, this one looks a little bit more complicated because of the different places that we can go here. But a lot of what you're going to see here is that the Eson is down here, on the Pa or the D, and then we're ending the melodic line for these, when it's done for verses, starting up here, and sometimes it's landing here, sometimes it's landing here on the on the G or the V, and sometimes it can land up here on Ni or the C, there's a return loop here when we're doing these verses, as you'll see in some of the music that's following here, where we're never quite finishing it, but in a hymn that would have a formal ending, it would be ending on always ending on the V. Like the Lamentations, for example. No one brought that up, but the Lamentations, in a grave they laid thee, oh my life and my Christ. Those are all, those are all in the tone 5 sticker arc. And they're supposed to end, which sounds like unresolved, but that's because that is just the way this this mode works, and it's not supposed to resolve as okay. So just that's the official ending. We'll see that in some of these pieces that we have coming up here. But let's look at these verses. As I spoke about in the last class, there are certain ways that the music can be composed to fit with the emphasis of the syllables in the text. And so we're going to use that same verse that we had in the last class. I cried unto the Lord with my voice unto the Lord did I make my supplication. And I've got two examples here of sort of an end of a verse where it's going to keep going to another verse versus if you were to just, and you wouldn't do that with this verse, but just as an example, if you were to just end it and that was the end of the hymn, what that sounds like to end on the V and end on G. So, so what we have written here, and most of this was composed by Deacon John here, so thank you for that, Deacon. I'll just hold my E-son over here so you can, because that's the important part of knowing where you are in this tone, to know that otherwise you might get confused and think you're doing the other one. I cried unto the Lord with my voice, or I cried unto the Lord with my voice. I cried unto the Lord with my voice. Okay, those are all equally good options for how you would sing that phrase in terms of how this mode works. And then for the middle part of the sentence here, with my voice unto the Lord, or with my voice unto the Lord, or with my voice unto the Lord, or with my voice unto the Lord. If you're going to pause up on the up on the C there, and then for endings, the quick endings here. Did I make my supplication? Assuming that you're going to go on to something else, or did I make my supplication? Or if you were to end a hymn on this, which you'd never do for this verse, but just as an example, did I make my supplication? You hear that unresolved fourth, or did I make my supplication? Okay, so what we're going to do is what we did in the last class. If you were here for that, is I'd like you to type into the chat window and come up with, we can combine any of these together, more or less. So if you want to make some suggestions of you'd like me to sing like A with B with A or whatever, or I'll just make some up if you guys aren't adventurous like that. I got a flash, meaning someone typed something. Let's just see here.
So we already have C, D, D,
okay,
and B, D, C.
Okay, so let's try C, D, D. Okay. I'll get my E-son going here. This one was what? It was C, what was it? C?
C, D as in David, and D as in David.
Okay, okay. I cried unto the Lord with my voice unto the Lord. Did I make my supplication? Beautiful. See, that all works together very nicely. And then what was the other one?
B, D, C. B as in boy, D as in David, C as in tuba.
Very good. Okay, B. You said, I'm sorry, B.
B, as in boy,
Yep.
D as in David,
D, yep, okay.
and then C as in Cuba.
Okay.
Charlie, actually, what do I go?
All right, Cuba, what is that?
It's just, I don't-
So you said B and then, I'm sorry, I have to look at I guess I just need to look at the chat. You said
BDC. Is my voice?
BDC, BDC, okay, good. I cried unto the Lord with my voice unto the Lord. Did I make my supplication? And then I'm going to suggest one too here. Right. So I'm going to do A. I'm going to do A, and B. That's what I'm going to do. So, and then we'll move on. I cried unto the Lord with my voice unto the Lord. Did I make my supplication? So at least you get the idea there. So as long as the phrases are properly composed, you can stitch them together. Now, some of these work better than others, just in terms of melodic flow and stuff like that. And
Do you want more or that's it?
oh, you got another one? Sure, I'll take one more.
I have two more. I have ACA.
Oh, ACA. Okay.
I'm going in order. I have ACA and CBD.
Okay. So one at a time. ACA. I can remember that. I cried unto the Lord with. Oh, I don't have my spotlight on. Sorry, that's not helpful to people. It's okay. Good. Now you can see me. I cried unto the Lord with my voice unto the Lord. What am I ending on?
ACA.
ACA.
A.
Okay, ACA. Okay, let me try it again. Thank you. I cried unto the Lord with my voice unto the Lord. Did I make my supplication? Oh, I like that one. That was good. Okay. What's the other one?
Charlie Bravo Delta.
Okay.
Thank you, Patrick. A shout out to Patrick.
Yeah. Okay, good. I cried unto the Lord with my voice CBD, right? I cried unto the Lord with my voice unto the Lord. Did I make my supplication? Let me do that again for you. Sorry there. Oh, and I just moved me down a little. Charlie Bravo Delta. I'm just gonna make this a little bit smaller so I can see it all on one page and not have to scroll. There we go. Charlie Bravo. Yeah, that'll help. There, it's all there. I cried unto the Lord with my voice unto the Lord. Did I make my supplication? Okay, good. So at least you should get the idea here in terms of how this works. And then we have, and what we're going to use for Vespers tonight on the verses in this sticker arc style. These examples here, which I'm not going to sing through these because you can just look at them. If you come to Vespers, the music is out there. You can follow along. You can sing along rather on
Charlie?
the live stream. Yes.
Charlie, if you don't mind, we have two questions.
Okay.
Another one, the first one is, I'm just trying, any particular reason why the stone saddle watch verses are written in sticky erotic?
That's a great question. Do you know the answer to that one, Deacon John?
I actually do, yes.
Yeah, the only thing I would say that's obvious is because we just sang and we were just about to get to the tone, the hymn and sticker arc everyone knows, which is, oh Lord, I have cried out. So we're already in tone 5 sticker arc, so it makes sense that you would do the verses to match. But please expand on that.
This is very true what you said, and also another thing, depending on the hymns that are chanted after those verses, like "Bring my soul out of prison." And so basically, the resurrectional hymns of tone 5 for "Lord I've Cried" are actually written in both styles, sticky erotic and hymnologic.
Yeah.
So if you're singing them in the sticky erotic style, you're supposed to do the verses basically what Charlie just went through. If you want to sing the hymnologic style of those hymns after "Bring My Soul Out of Prison," you're supposed to use the one that Charlie taught you the previous class, the hymnologic style.
There you go.
And there's one more question, Charlie.
Yeah.
Can you explain again when you use the terminal final cadence?
You typically will see that on not these fast hymns so much, but on the slower ones. And we're gonna look at this next hymn. So I'm gonna hold that question and see if that helps, just so you can see the examples here. But basically, when it's in this more melismatic, type style, that you'll see the ending, is both halves of this hymn are always ending on the V or the G. I don't know if you want to add anything more to that, Deacon John. Feel free.
Just basically any sticky erotic hymn or 99.99. There are always some exceptions here and there. But any basically sticky erotic hymn is supposed to finish on a G or on a V, but basically with this kind of ending that Charlie provided in the bottom of the page. That's basically the most traditional expected ending of any hymn following the sticky erotic style.
Right, that's why the Lamentation is supposed to end that way. Christ is Risen is supposed to end like that.
Yes.
We're going to look at that here. So. Yes. So this is something that that everyone should know, because it's the Kazan, "Oh Lord, I have cried," and I'm not going to sing it through because you'll hear me sing it through at Vespers tonight. So I'm not going to sing the whole thing through, but I do want to I want you to look at the. I'll just sing a little bit of it so you can see some of the patterns here and the fact that we've got multiple. Notes per syllable. So I'll just sing a little in the front and a little at the back here. Oh Lord, I have cried out unto thee. Hear thou me, hear thou me, O Lord. So it's right at the heart of where this tone sticker arc lies. And if you look at the end here, take it right here. Here, let me get my Isan here. Hear thou me, O Lord. See, it's ending on the G there, ending on the V, and you see the same thing here at the very end of the hymn. And it's the same thing. Hear thou me, O Lord. So this is something everyone should be familiar with. So that whole concept should be something that you've seen before. Let me move on. Let me move on and talk a little bit about actually. Let's move on and talk about let's talk about the Isan first. I know that's why I had that one in there. Is you see, we've got the main Isan is basically the D, and the other main one, is if it goes up to like the A, or the G, and you'll hear that tonight. But those are like the main notes that we really focus on as far as Isan's concerned. But one of the things that's kind of different, and again, this is not an Isan class, you can spend a whole class talking about Isan. But one of the things that's kind of unique to Tone 5 is there's this opportunity for what's called the double Isan, where sometimes you have both the D or the Pa, and like a G or a K at the same time, or sorry, a G and a V at the same time, or sometimes the pa and the K, so the D and the A. And one of the examples where you see that is in this hymn here, the hymn of the unwaning light, where you see here, for example, we've got the D and the A while the melody keeps going up. And then we see an example here where you got the D and the G together while the melody's up here, on the C. One person explained this to me once, which I thought was interesting. She was from a Greek background, that said some chant professor of hers had referred to this as almost like, for hymns like this, almost referring to like two different levels of heaven or something like that. I don't know what the theology is behind that. And Dean John, I don't know what you've been told about this, but please add something in there about this concept of the double Isan if you have something to add.
I would say, we're very good in Byzantine, to make everything, somehow make it theological. So I think just a stylistic thing. I'm sure we can find a way to, it's more of a stylistic thing, I think.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I'm gonna play you this hymn just so you can hear what this one sounds like. And so and when you're listening here, listen for those. Listen for where we have the double Isan. If you look at my video, I'll try to point it out. So did you hear that with where we had the Isan either in fourths or we had it in fifths there. So that's why I included this here, just so you could see an example of that. All right, now one of the things that comes up, and now we're going to, I'm gonna do this one live here. Let me just let me bring up the screen that we want to look at here. Just bear with me for a second. Yeah, it's going to be in this one here. So I'm going to talk about the diatonic shifts in tone 5. And I can explain it a little simpler than I did on the original video. So let me share my screen again. There we go. So we'll do this one live. So in diatonic tone 5, starting on the lower tetrachord, you'll often find melodies that start out on the pa pa vu ga di ke, and then you'll often see that something happens where there's a switch of the melody. The Isan shifts and goes up to the A or the ke, and the typical thing you might see there is something that sounds like this. Ke zo ni pa ni zo ke, which is just the typical diatonic scale. Natural, zo natural on the way up, zo flat on the way down. And then you might hear a shift where the Isan drops from the A to the G to the, and then you'll hear, again, typical diatonic scale. the kezoni zokevi, and then you'll hear it, finish off kezi ravu pa, or work its way down back to the pa. So that's what you would hear. That would adhere with those shifts to what's already in the diatonic scale. But one of the points of confusion that comes up is, is in terms of what's going on with that B or that zo, because one of the questions you often get is, hey, sometimes the B is natural, sometimes the B is flat, sometimes it's natural the way up and flat the way down, what's going on? So what I just explained is the kind of shifts you'll see if you're just sticking within the basic diatonic scale, where because of the law of attraction, it's natural on the way up and flat on the way down, whether the Isan is shifting to A or to G. But there's some other variations on those shifts to A to G. One of those is this first one here, where you go up to the A, Pavugadi K, you establish that K as the Isan, now the A. And now suddenly you see here, all the B's are natural. Kezoni panizoke. And you want to know, well, what's going on with that? Well, what's actually happening there, technically speaking, is that what's happened in the music is that this lower tetrachord of pa vu ga di ga vu pa gets shifted up a fifth. Okay, so what's really going on here is that this is now pa, but as an A, and because vu does not obey laws of attraction on the way up and down the way that zo does, because this is really a vu, it's always going to be natural both on the way up and the way down. And the thing you'll notice about this, hopefully, from the previous hour that we spent and what I referred to in the video as the previous class, is that this is the basis for how the irmologic tone 5 is defined. Blessed art thou, O Lord, teach me thy statutes. All those B's are natural. They're not, you don't flat the B on the way down when you're in the irmologic tone 5, because you're really not up in this part of the irmologic, of the diatonic scale. Rather, you're really still in this part, but it's just been shifted up so that those B's are always natural. So that's why sometimes you see the shift and all of a sudden it seems like I'm in the land of B naturals. Why is that? And then suddenly, you find some B's that are flat. Well, the way that gets controlled in the Byzantine notation is, they have these little symbols to basically tell you that this note here has now become pa. And we have some fun names for these things invented by John Boyer, where this is called the popsicle because it looks like a popsicle, but it's the popsicle because it means that this note suddenly is pa, which is this note, and hence this whole shift of a fifth there. And then when you come out of this and return to the scale you had before, and this becomes K again, we just call this the kepsicle, the popsicle and the kepsicle. But that's what's going on there. So it's very common that, and in the It Is the Day of Resurrection hymn, the Paschal Doxasticon, it is the day of resurrection. And then all the B's are natural there. Let us na 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 na. That's exactly what's going on there. And then it'll shift back. Now the other variation that you see when the Isan goes to the V or the G is in the natural, in the straight diatonic scale, it would be ni pavuga, sorry, pavuga vi ke vi ke zoni zoke vi. But there's also another symbol in there that you can find in the Byzantine notation that basically, and it's this symbol here, which is known as the ajam, or as Deacon John likes to refer to it, the hook, that basically says, make this flat from this point onward until we give you some other symbol to say, do otherwise. It's almost like putting a flat sign on an infinitely long measure. All those B's are going to be flat from now on. All those Zo's are going to be flat, until we give you some other symbol to say that we're going to undo that somehow. So that's why the other question I often get is, how come sometimes all the B's, seem to be flat, even when they're going up past the zone, past the B? That's because it can be a situation where this symbol is in there and basically says, just make all the B's flat. And we actually see that. I don't know if we can see it in the Kazan per se. I've seen it in other versions of this hymn, but basically to sing what I have on the page here. So say we did these diatonic shifts where instead of doing the ones that are purely in the diatonic scale, I'll go to this first one here, which is basically this transposition up a fifth of this whole diatonic scale. And then I'll come down to the G and I'll do this one where we suddenly say all the B's are going to be flat, just so you can hear what that sounds like, okay? Is it that one? Nope, it's this one here. So you could see any of these things happening, and it's just a question of how it's been composed. Now, the advantage we have, obviously, in the Western notation is that someone's just going to notate that out for you, and you're going to see that. But where people get confused is like, well, how come sometimes it's a natural, sometimes it's a flat? Well, that's what's going on theoretically, within this mode. And I don't know if there are any specific questions about what I just said there. I hope that was helpful and clear. Let's see, I got a couple of questions that may have come up in the chat. Okay, yeah, so one of the questions was, do you only have the shifting of the Isan when you're in tone 5? Well, these specific things I'm covering here are related to things that only happen, say, in tone 5 itself. Different modes have the typical kinds of shifts that they may do, shifting into other scales or other tones. If you've looked and seen any of Shadi's music, he likes to shift around a lot, right? And so there can be all sorts of stuff going on there. But my goal here was just to cover what's just a very common question, which is, why are the B's sometimes not all naturals? Why are they sometimes natural the way up, flat, and the way down? Why are they sometimes all flat? Well, it just depends on how the music itself was composed, but those are all, valid possibilities. Okay, good. Good, so I think we can, let me just do a time check here. We've got 15 minutes left. I think we can, if that was clear enough for folks, then let's return to the video that we had going before and pick that up right at 40 minutes, 47. Okay.
But anyway, I wouldn't want to I think,
Right.
so I can answer you, Patrick,
Yeah.
privately on these things.
Okay.
Or
Okay.
something.
Thank you, Deacon John. Okay, good. Okay. Yeah, and so here's an example of that. This is the hymn that I played when you guys were walking in, and this one at the beginning it follows natural on the way up, flat on the way down. The Lord hath sent redemption to his people. oh. But look what she does on the last time through. See, she's got, see, there it is. Maybe I'll blow it up for you guys so you can see that. See, there's the popsicle, and there's the capsicle. So you see here, kind of in Western notation, you know, they're gonna write it out for you, but I think it helps conceptually just to know what's going on here instead of wondering, well, sometimes it looks natural, sometimes it looks flat. Why? So here she's saying, now what's going to happen once I get to this part, it's just all going to be naturals. So you notice all those B's, all those O's were natural. And then she says, okay, now we're going back to where this is K, you know, in the scale. Okay. So I included this because this is with our theme of Christmas. This is a communion hymn that you can use for Christmas, especially if you're sick of singing Sakalaridis, na 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 na. You know what I mean. So all right. And then on this hymn, we're going to actually, this is where we're going to look a little bit at ornamentation in the class here. Let's, you know what we're going to do? We're going to play a little bit of this for you guys. Give you a little rest of voice here. Go back to so this is for Christmas too, okay, which is why we're including it. That's just enough of that to cover what I want to cover.
Ali, can I bother you 1 second? There's a question I think it's important if you want to answer it.
Sure.
Is the capsicle? I like now how we.
Okay. We don't need to hear that question. We're just going to move along here. Okay. It's possible here, so you guys get a break. Someone was asking about seeing some of these Byzantine symbols here. When Jessica, oftentimes when Jessica does her Western notation, she'll put in the symbols there that are not about what note and not about what rhythm and not about what isan, but what we'd say more the qualitative symbols of Byzantine chant, you know, things like the petastis and the sephistones and things like that. So those are the symbols that you won't find in Western notation. Yeah, I mean, you could write an accent instead, you know, but this is just a little bit more information about you know, what's going on in the Byzantine that she likes to provide. It is a little bit related to you know, the next part I was going to talk about in terms of, you know, ornamentation examples from that hymn that we just looked at. You know, where we had written, it was written out as Spirit, literally in terms of what you would see in the Byzantine. That's exactly what you see. You know, something that's effectively like a dotted quarter, and then 3/8 notes and a quarter, you know, and a half note. These things are meant to be interpreted, and one of the reasons Jessica puts the symbol in there is kind of as a reminder that, you know, there's some ornamentation that's typically done here. And so we're just for 4 places in this hymn, I just want to discuss what you might do here. So one option, you could just, whenever you see this, you go Spirit, or you could go Spirit. And there's other things people can do as well, but I just want to give a couple of options just to explain the concept. This is not an ornamentation class, but it's a concept class, that what's literally written on the page, when people sing Byzantine music, they'll often add ornamentation to it. Sometimes in ornamentation, when people are writing Western scores, they've written a lot of interpretation in there for you already. So it makes it a little harder to kind of see what's going on. But the basic building block, what we call the formula, of the composition, you have this, and there's different things you can do. And how ornamented you make it might depend on what the word is. In a particular context, you might do something simpler because it's a word that isn't as important as like spirit or something like that, right? And then there was a phrase in there that was written, accomplished today. Like if you say 3 half notes in a row, I can guarantee you no one's expecting, the composer wasn't expecting someone was going to sing 3 half notes in a row. But there's some things that you can do here. And so a couple examples, you could go, accomplished today, or you could go, accomplished today, and you see what it does is it's not as dry, and it allows the melody to flow more. The other 2 examples on this page. Whenever you see this kind of thing, in Bethlehem, I like to call it butt joints, in carpentry. You just take 2 pieces of wood and you try to fasten them together. No, that's not what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to like take an angle off of one, angle off of one, and put them together so they fit nicely. So whenever you have butt joints like this, typically this kind of formula, and Deacon Johnny, I think, even had an example of this in his class yesterday. Instead of singing in Bethlehem, you go in Bethlehem. So that's something to look for as well. And then this one here, this is a very common one where you've got 2 notes tied together with the sephistone above them, and there's John Boyer says in the book he's writing, he's going to show like 10 different ways you can interpret that one. This one is so common, and different chanters from different regions of the world are going to interpret it differently. One that you might hear is invisible, or invisible, right? So, or invisible. There's a lot of different ways to interpret it. The point of this is just to point out these things, and you can hear them in the recording as well. Every group's going to interpret them differently, just so that this stuff exists. There's an intermediate level class, so it's kind of like a beyond the notes view there. So let's see, get a couple of questions that came in here.
One just came. I'm actually just reading it now. These guys were 5.
Okay, this is all good stuff. All right. So
just a compliment.
Okay, fine. I'll take the compliment. Fine. All right.
Hold on. That might not be very true. Actually, it is true. So it was told that they might found on the sacred music, but didn't have any luck finding them. So basically, they're looking at the website to find basically what you've done. I know Dr. Jessica. We posted a lot of stuff from Dr. Jessica, but I guess just the first couple pages.
Okay, so that whole hymn that I just played, that whole hymn is in this PDF, which Chris posted out to the website. So you have access to everything you're seeing right now. And if they're talking about the Synchronic verses, those are going to be posted at the Vespers service. So the those whole Nick Jones sticker arc verses adapted by Deacon John, that's going to be out on the Vespers music.
And at some point, God willing, will be all added to the music library itself.
Right. We just haven't gotten there yet. We have very active composers. I can barely keep up. They're composing so much stuff just to proofread it and stuff. So, all, inshallah, right? All in God's time, it'll be up there. So I want to end with two different things because we're right at time here. One is I want to help connect for you a tradition that we find primarily in the Antiochian Church of singing Christ is risen 3 times in the long style. Okay, knows the ending, bestowing wife. Okay, then we have it in Arabic, and then we have it in Greek, and then you have this transition. Harisamenos, and then the verses. Then you do this shift up a fifth. Let God arise, let his enemies be scattered, and let them that hate him flee from before his face. Christ is risen from the dead. Okay, so and so that's the thing of actually tying together these. This whole concept of the shift. You can actually hear that. So I'd like to play for you an example where you're going to hear that, just some snippets from there. This is from the Byzantine Choir of Pittsburgh. There's 6 verses, right? And then the 10th time you sing Christ is risen is at the very end here. Let's see. Now and ever and unto ages of ages. Transition work there. We went from the lower tetrachord to the upper tetrachord, and then more like the hymnologic, right? So we have to sticker arc to hymnologic, back to sticker arc. So I wanted to tie that together for you. And then the last thing, and then we need to end the class is there are only a few prosomia that are in the sticker arc style, and this one happens, and this one is called Rejoice or Hieris Askitikon in Greek, and I think if you were to poll chanters who are familiar with the special melodies, you'd probably get like 8 out of 10 would tell you this is like their favorite prosomia of all time. So we're going to end the class here with just playing an example of these hymns that are related to Christmas, since that's our theme, and it's a very beautiful melody. And then one of the things I want you to notice here, obviously it goes up and down and all that for the reasons that we said, but I really want you to focus on the words and how this special melody and its beauty really gives life to this text about the Nativity. Okay. we're at the end of our time. I just want to know if there are any other questions. I haven't seen anything else come up in the chat since then, and I just want to make sure if there are any questions I can address them now. Otherwise, what I'll plan on doing is, as you're leaving the class, I'll start to play this hymn so you can hear it. It really is one of my it certainly is my favorite song, and like I said, 8 out of 10 chanters polled name this one as their favorite. So yes, Marina.
Charlie, did you respond to Stephen in the chat just now?
Yes, that was before. Yeah, I answered that question before.
That was okay. Great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for doing such a great job this evening. I know it was something that you already did, but for me, I didn't get to hear it before, so it was all great.
Oh,
I
good.
loved it.
Oh, good. Yeah, no, and then I tried to improve on what we did in the summer, and we fixed a couple things and tried to take out
Right, and
unnecessary.
don't forget, everyone, you did get a second email from Chris Howard with all the extra stuff in it. Charlie, do you want to respond to that real quick?
Respond
About what you added?
Well, no, the only thing that he's going to have to send out that he doesn't have right now is there's a 1-pager that I use to answer Sophia's question about comparing the Irmologic tone 5 and tone 1. So that's not in these 2 PDFs that he sent.
Oh.
But I'll have him send that out. I'll
Okay.
send it to him tonight, and he'll probably send that, because that one just got created before the class. So
Okay.
it was a great question too. So
Good. All right. So you're going to play us your favorite song, and then
I'm going to play it for you.
End
Yeah,
that way.
you're welcome to listen. And Leah, I'll play at least one verse here. And yeah, you're welcome to listen. Let me share my screen again so you can see it. And that way you'll be able to hear the sound. And here we go. Let's see. Where did I do? Hold on, wait, I gotta get the right point here. And everyone needs a break. So yeah, okay. So that starts right here. Okay. All right. Here we go. There you go. Thank you. So I could keep playing the other verses, but you get the idea there. Those are hymns from the week in between Christmas and New Year's. As part of the 12 days of Christmas. So good. Well, it's really been great to have all you guys here tonight. Thank you. Thank you, Sophia. And as I said, I don't think you're at the beginning, Sophia, but I congratulate everybody for wisely choosing this over just watching hours and hours of election returns. So good. Nice to have you together. So.
Thank you so much, Charlie, and hope to see you guys next time we all get together. We're just going to be I'll be quite honest with you. I do not know what is next.
Oh,
I
I
forget. Charlie, can you look it up real
I
quick?
can look it up really, really.
So sorry. I think maybe it's not pitching. I don't know what it is. I can't remember.
Yeah, your email went out this morning, so I should be able to find that. Because I asked Chris, I said, "Hey, I haven't seen the email yet from Marina." He's like, "Oh, it just went out." Like,
Yeah, we were a little. I've been buried lately. So
yeah. Let's see. I thought it went out like around 10 this morning. Maybe it went out at 1. Maybe that's what it was. Oh, there you are. Okay. So next week, the fall schedule. I'm just gonna pull up the fall schedule so we can all see it right
oh, good.
here.
Thank you.
There you go. So yeah, we're right here. So we just did that. And then yeah, what to sing and chant while singing chanting. We're gonna talk about the structure of the Divine Liturgy with Father John and Greg.
That's right. That's right. All right. Well, beautiful. Well, I hope to see you all there, and don't forget to spread the word. And Charlie, thank you so much for your expertise and always for making it so understandable. We really appreciate it.
Thank God.
Okay. All right. Good night, everyone. Take
Good night.
care.
Bye.